you got a little better sense of how it's going to look yesterday, I think, than you did on Monday. Offense looked a little bit better. Like you can kind of slowly see some of the pieces coming together. The 2-minute drill did not go well for the offense, but other than that, I would say it was a step in the right direction for that unit. What today looks like, we'll have to see. Obviously, the defense has kind of held the upper hand overall in camp to this point, but it was again a heavy emphasis on the running game, right? Like you saw drills where they were in full pads and they're like, okay, since we've got pads on, we're going to work on the ground game. And the next time they're in pads, later this week at some point, I would imagine, not today, I don't believe, maybe we'll see kind of some more downfield stuff, but the initial 2 practices in pads, big-time focus on stuff at the line of scrimmage and in the box.
Whether it's detailing Caleb Williams' challenge and the specifics of the pre-snap operation, or it's pulling Luther Burden out of a play and telling us why, Ben Johnson has provided some pretty refreshing candor, Brad, early on. Is this anything that stands out to you? Is it just refreshing because it's such a stark contrast to what we may be used to? But how noticeable has it been for you?
Yeah, I think when you ask Ben Johnson a question, you're going to get a straight answer, and if he feels like something has clearly been below the standard for where it should be at that time, he'll go ahead and say it, right? And Luther Burden was misaligned in some fashion in the practice yesterday, and he got replaced. Like, listen, Burden wasn't kicked out of practice. Burden wasn't going to do a ton yesterday anyway. It was his second practice, and kind of adding a little bit more to his plate each day. But what Ben said before practice Tuesday morning was that Luther was struggling with some of this stuff Monday afternoon in a walkthrough, and he and like walkthroughs are closed. Like way back in the day, they were open. You could go watch the walkthrough, and these are closed. So for Ben Johnson to offer up that detail, clearly there's some level of calculation to putting that kind of information out there. That's refreshing. Certainly helps you understand a little bit better what's going on, and potentially maybe this motivates Burden to get some of this stuff ironed out and figured out. Because last week we heard how he was super involved in meetings, and Antoine Randall was calling on him, and he was asking questions, and he was in his playbook, and he's got some catching up to do.
Brett, I'm curious, what are you seeing from the new draft pick, from the number 1 pick? How do you feel about the way Colston Loveland has been playing, and what do you think about the combination of tight ends that they have now?
Yeah, Loveland got more work in the full team drills yesterday. Got a little bit of it on Monday, and then you saw him out there more yesterday. So that's great from the standpoint of, okay, they don't have any concerns about the shoulder that he rehabbed, and the reason why he wasn't really doing anything at all during the springtime with the team. And the size is what you see the guy at first, and I think the size is the first thing that jumps out at you, right? And then how he moves, and just kind of watching him go up in the air and make a play the other day. It's like, wow, this guy could really help them out. And I think with Komet, there's really no excuse not to be much more involved with 12 personnel this season. Like you've got it now where you can pick your two wide receivers for that formation. You got some different options there. Have your two tight ends, and then you could do a ton with that. Like if the tight ends are attached to the line of scrimmage, you can run the ball. Like, how's the defense going to respond? And then you go off of what the defense does. Is the defense going to put base personnel on the field? Well, spread out the tight ends and throw the ball. Are they going to put nickel personnel on the field? Well, see how they handle the run in nickel personnel. So I think it's exciting because that Kmet can be a lot more productive, a lot more than he was last season. And part of this is going to be on Caleb to get the tight ends the ball, Cole and Loveland both, because when you look at what happened last season with the tight ends getting the ball, you can blame the play callers, plural, right, that they had last season. You can question some of the stuff they had going on schematically with the playbook, but an element of blame also goes to the quarterback, Caleb Williams. Like, there are way too many instances at 85 wide open on the field, and the quarterback not seeing him not get the ball, that type of thing. So Caleb shares some responsibility in Cole's numbers just falling off a cliff last season.
Brad, we heard from Kyler Gordon yesterday, and he spoke about the different ways he might be utilized. And everybody has heard Dennis Allen rave about Kyler Gordon's versatility, and I think that's great. I just wonder, are they getting the most out of him by using him in a variety of different ways, or would be the best answer you letting him master being one of the better nickelbacks in the league as he is paid? I think there's a temptation to want to use that versatility, but I also think there's probably you wonder if that is the best use of all of his talents.
Yeah, I think it allows his kind of wide variety of talents to be used a little more often. Like, pretty good when you blitz them. Obviously not something you want to lean into a ton, right? You're paying him to cover, not to get after the quarterback. But if he's on the field, 85% of the time, I got to think it's well over three-quarter, 80% of those snaps that he has are going to be just as the nickel guy. What Dennis Allen's bringing is a little bit of variety, and you want to see him master what you're paying him to do, which is be this guy who is really sticky against the slot receiver and effective as a run defender as well. But they're going to be interesting defensively, and you got to be, like I wrote this the other day, sort of in relation to something else, but more exotic isn't necessarily better. Like, it sounds like it, right? And people love the idea of it being more exotic, but you better be buttoned up when on the back end when you get exotic, because otherwise that can lead to a ton of big plays. And you just look at, Vic Fangio is a great example, who's had a ton of success in the league for a long time. Traditionally, a Fangio defense is going to be bottom third of the entire league in terms of percentage of blitzes, and I'm talking about sending 5 pass rushers or more. It just doesn't do a lot of it, doesn't like to do a lot of it, but what he does extremely well. Now, he's in Philadelphia right now. He's got great players, and to play great defense, that's the first ingredient you need.
Brad, you broke the story the other day about Shamar Turner being out for a month with the ankle that he injured at the end of practice. I think it was Saturday. Obviously,
first day of practice. It was a week ago. Wednesday.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Wednesday, yeah.
But the fact is, obviously, the you're not going to miss a guy you never had, kind of, but you're starting to organize this stuff. It's a pity that he's not there for it, right? It probably hurts him more than the team, just because it sets him back, and he's, big, strong man they drafted and planned on using.
Yeah, a guy that you certainly figured would be a part of the rotation for the start of the season. I think we're looking at 4 weeks, maybe a little bit more for him.
Right.
So you're talking about I don't see him playing in preseason, and if that thing kind of stretches right up toward getting real close to week 1, well, then at that point you're looking at it and you're saying, is there a consideration of some type of short-term IR with obviously a designation to return? But I would imagine that would at least be at some level part of the discussion, and he's still a guy that can help them a good deal this season. He's still a guy that's going to benefit from any time he's around Grady Jarrett, but they've got some depth there. Chris Williams, who made some plays for him in the second half of last season, the defensive tackle, showed up a little bit yesterday in practice, guys, and obviously that's with the pads on. That's what you want to see, and he's kind of one of those little bit twitchier, smaller defensive tackle types. So body type wise, he's sort of like Turner in that regard, and so they've got some depth at that position. It's improved, and I agree with you completely that no question a bigger loss for Shamar at this point than it is the team.
How would you assess the progress of Braxton Jones a week into practice and that competition at left tackle? How would you stack that up?
Yeah, that's an interesting one to watch, because if you're kind of paying attention to what the coach says, it's like sooner rather than later to make a decision in order to allow their starting 5 to begin to gel. And so the padded practices over the next week plus, the joint practice with the Dolphins, going to be worth paying close attention to. I believe this is ultimately going to come down to a decision between Ozzie Trapillo. It's been really pretty even in terms of how the reps have been divided, with Karan Amagaji also in the mix. And I think with Braxton's look good. I would imagine, they just want him to be able to play with confidence that he's fully healthy and he can do the things athletically when bodies are flying around that he needs to do. They need him to feel confident in his strength, and so you're going to need a little more time watching him. Trapillo's, I'll tell you what about Trapillo. They list him at like 6'8", 3, whatever it is, 14, 15, something in that range. When that guy gets out in space on the move, he moves pretty well. Like he's an impressive mover for his size and length. He's got to have his hips right to look good on the move. He's got to be able to drop them a little bit. When he stays high hips, he doesn't move as well. But I think it's right now. This is between Braxton and Trapillo, in my opinion.
I'm curious, I know what you said about Kyler Gordon and moving him around. They also have DJ Moore playing some running back, and obviously, got out in space, had a nice sweep down the left sideline yesterday. I like the creativity of using guys in different ways, and we're seeing it both on offense and on defense. Is there only so far you can go with something like that? I mean, DJ Moore's only been a couple of plays, but obviously they're just toying with the idea of having a very versatile player, maybe do some offense, do some running back as well as receiver.
Yeah, we've seen DJ in the backfield.
Yep.
Previous coaching staff, and I think it's something they'll sprinkle in here or there. You really like him when he's in space. When he arrived, one of the things they said is, when he catches the ball, it looks a little bit like a running back. When he's out there in the open space, and so let him do that. Like DJ's greatest asset isn't route running ability. Like, he's not a guy you would consider at the highest level of route running ability. So get the ball in his hands and let him do what he can do. Plus, it's not like they're overloaded with running backs right now. So I think that's something, you could see 3 or 4 carries one week, no snaps in the backfield for the next couple weeks. Then he could get a couple more, and it's going to be highly game plan dependent, but certainly finding more ways to give him opportunities to make plays is a pretty good idea.
Speaking of running backs, Ben Johnson said that Kyle Monangai was a sponge. How much has he looked the part, Brad, for a 7th-round draft pick?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's fun. This is a really smart guy, okay? Kyle Monangai, if he didn't have offers to play at all of the Ivy League schools, it was nearly all of them. So, and they like to get some good football players, but if you don't meet the academic requirements, those opportunities aren't extended. That was a possibility for him at one point before Greg Schiano swooped in with about 2 weeks until National Signing Day and gave him an offer to come play football at Rutgers. So you're talking about a really sharp guy. But he's Kyle Monangai's tight with Isaiah Pacheco, the Chiefs running back, who's played pretty well for them for 3 seasons and had certainly some shining moments in the playoffs for Kansas City. Pacheco was also a 7th-round pick out of Rutgers. So you know what they've done? They've shared notes about playing for Eric Bieniemy, who can be a really demanding position coach. And I think Kyle's on top of his stuff. But you got to see more after only 2 padded practices. Like yesterday, they didn't do one-on-ones where you've got linebackers blitzing against running backs and then working on pass protection, blitz pickup. We saw that on Monday, but that didn't happen again yesterday. That's going to be one of those drills where you're going to want to try to keep an eye on it when the rookie's getting his rep and his turn. Is he proving as a smaller guy, because he's 5'8" and change maybe, can he set his feet, get behind his pads, and pick up a linebacker that's coming out of full speed?